Because whether you do spiritual practice, whether you do meditation, it has to be done step by step. There is no push button enlightenment. Stages of meditation, stages of spiritual path, stages. Right? I've translated one book by His Holiness called Stages of Meditation. The title Stages of Meditation. So if you get just some idea how to go step by step, I think it will be very useful. So I thought I'll explain that. So when you do this, when you do or when you're interested to do spiritual practice, what you need to do is few things. Number one, you need to find a good spiritual teacher. So just write down spiritual teacher. I'll make your life very simple. Okay. The foundation of all qualities is a guru teacher. So it is by seeing that it's important that you properly relate to that teacher. Second, precious human life. This precious human life is found only one time, not easy to get again and again, but you can fulfill many important meanings if you use this life properly. So therefore, day and night, continue your practice. So that means recognize the importance of this precious life and use it. Second. Then third, this life is very precious, but how long you are going to live, it is not sure. Impermanence. Next is impermanence. Your life is fluctuating like might end up very soon, right? So that's impermanence. Next is karma, positive and negative karma. Because after death you do not disappear into nothingness, just like the shadow follows the body, right? The positive deeds and negative deeds that you have done will follow you. So you develop very strong understanding of this, and thereby give up even the smallest negative deeds and do perfectly well the collection of positive deeds. So always be hateful, right? So what did you have right now? Finding a precious teacher. That's in general the foundation. After that, you should think about precious human life, then impermanence, then karma and fruit, right? Right? This practice is called practice for the people with small mental intelligence. So when we practice these stages of path, it is divided into three parts. Path common to the small individual, path common to the middle individual, and then path of the great individual. So we call it path common to the small individual, because if you practice just this, then it's path for small individual. But those who practice the path for the great individual, this is needed. So if you do it for that purpose, then it becomes a common path to both the people from the small individual and also for those who practice the path for the great individual. So next time if somebody says, okay, in the LAMRIM, what are those topics that is covered for the people who practice the small path common to the small individual? It's on your fingertip. Impermanence, preciousness of human life, cause effect, right? Then, so in this way, you can have a nice life, right? If you practice this, you can have a nice life. But then still you are in the samsara. You are not out of samsara. So after that, you should really, see the limitations of the samsara and try to come out of the samsara, right? So therefore, the next level is meditation on the faults of the samsara, the faults of samsara. So here you basically do the practice on the Four Noble Truths. Four Noble Truths. Four Noble Truths. Because when Buddha gave the teaching, he did not give the teaching easily, readily, but when repeated request was made, and when finally gave the teaching, then what did he teach? The first thing that he taught was uh, Four Noble Truths. When Four Noble Truth teaching was giving, he taught it like this. In 3 cycles, he taught it. The first cycle was, this is true suffering. This is true origin of suffering. This is true cessation. This is true path. That is first cycle, first cycle. So when he uses the word, this is primarily pointing to yourself. This life, this body, this mind that you've taken is true suffering. And the cause of that suffering, negative emotions also there. This is true origin of suffering. And you also have the capacity to put an end to this suffering. Therefore, this is true cessation. And put an end to this negative emotions and sufferings. You also have the capacity to follow the path. This is the path. Then in the second cycle, he said, suffering should be known. You should know the suffering. Origin of the suffering should be eliminated. Origin of suffering is what? Negative emotions, contaminated actions. So origin of suffering should be eliminated. True cessation should be actualized. Here, true cessation means the state where all the negative emotions have ceased. So basically, this means nirvana. So nirvana must be actualized. True cessation must be actualized. And true path must be meditated. That is second cycle. Then in the third cycle, he said, Dunishe prasadi shiva charme, kunjung pawa chade, pawa charme, gobor mundu charme, lam gobor chade. That means suffering is to be known, there is nothing to know. Although the origin of suffering must be eliminated, but there is nothing to eliminate. Although cessation should be actualized, but there is nothing to actualize. Although the path must be meditated, but there is nothing to meditate. I think this is two levels of meaning. Of course, there is suffering to be known, but when it is known, but there is nothing to know. That means when you get enlightened, then there is nothing to, no need to meditate, no need to focus on meaning. The second meaning is, although suffering should be known, but there's no suffering that has independent existence. Suffering must be known. There's nothing to know. Meaning, there's no suffering which has inherent independent existence. Similarly, with the path, the cessation, right, and the origin of suffering. So in these 3 cycles, he taught the Four Noble Truths. So it is by putting an end to the suffering, and putting an end to the seed of suffering, you get liberated, nirvana. So that is the path practiced by the path common to the people with middling intelligence. So this can be a path leading to the Maya path, but also in isolation, it can be a path to liberation. So therefore, this text says, in the samsara, you may have many things to enjoy, but you will never be satisfied by enjoying them. They will actually become a door or gateway to suffering. They are not reliable. So therefore, you should see the faults of all the so-called good things in the samsara, and therefore you should aspire to the bliss and peace of liberation, right? And induced by this pure thought to get liberated, you should maintain mindfulness, conscientiousness, and heedfulness, and then set in vows, patimoksha, layman's vow, monk's vow, things like that, right? And then engage in the practice. That is the second level path common to the middle individual. Then the third path is called path for the great individual, or path for the people with great intelligence. This there we don't use the word path common. It's only for the path for the great individual. So in this case, you cultivate the bodhicitta, write down bodhicitta. Bodhicitta and the practice of the six perfections. Now it is so good to know that you already have some idea what it means. Bodhicitta, what is bodhicitta? You know it. You know a little bit what is six perfections, right? So in this category, you're very comfortable. So therefore, it says the text says, just as you are fallen into this ocean of samsara, all are samsara, seeing of liberating them, and therefore you should train yourself supreme mind bodhicitta. Number one, bodhicitta. Now, even if you cultivate bodhicitta, but if you don't practice, you will not actualize enlightenment. Therefore, practice the six perfections. So when we talk about six perfections, what is the first perfection? You already know, patience. Second, second morality. Third, sorry, the first is first is giving, generosity. Second, morality. Third, patience. Fourth, effort. Then fifth, concentration. Sixth, wisdom. Exactly, absolutely. So here in this text says, even if you cultivate bodhicitta, but if you don't make yourself habituated with the three types of morality, there's one way of saying is even if you cultivate bodhicitta, if you don't practice the six perfections, you will not achieve enlightenment. Another way of saying is even if you cultivate bodhicitta, but if you don't practice the six types of morality, you will not achieve enlightenment. What are the three types of morality? The first is restraining negative deeds. Nijuddha Visuddhi, restraining negative deeds. Second is collecting virtuous qualities. Gevachudhi, collecting virtuous qualities. Third is morality of working for the benefit of sentient beings. So in these three practice of these three types of morality, you are basically practicing six perfections also, right? So morality, you know, patience also you have some idea. And the next is effort. Effort means not just working hard, but delighting in what you do in terms of benefiting others. So negative obstructive force of perseverance or effort is laziness. How many types of laziness are there? One is laziness means laziness, which means just sitting there not doing anything, which we normally understand. Huh? Wait. First one is laziness means probably indolence, right? Not doing anything, just sitting there. Second is laziness of looking down upon yourself, belittling yourself, meaning it's important to do, but I can't do. I can't do. You look down upon yourself. And third, laziness of getting attached to inferior works. You want to do Dharma practice, but instead of Dharma practice, you would like to watch ice hockey, right? Or things like that, right? Then the fourth laziness is procrastination. Yes, I want to do it, but not now. I'll do it only after I finish my school. I'll do it only after I complete my study. Things like that. You postpone. As I already mentioned, when you adopt this kind of attitude, it clearly shows you don't have much interest. Can you postpone things? Because you can postpone practice, but death will not postpone, right? It will come anytime. So you need to do good things much before. So that so laziness is not just doing nothing. It is of many types. So make sure you don't do any of this laziness. So it is effort by which you are able to achieve so many things. Diligence, working hard, right? If you remain lazy, you won't even get it. कई लोग हैं कई लोग हैं पता है, वो अकेला रहते हैं ना नाश्ता नहीं मिलता है मुझे पता है. Some people who when they live alone don't get their breakfast. They prefer laziness. They're so lazy to go to the market. Right, right. So when you're lazy, spiritual progress, you may not get your so, right. So therefore, if you want to do good spiritual practice, you should take good rest, good sleep, but don't sleep too much. Don't sleep too much. Don't sleep like a buffalo, as they say. Or sometimes they say don't sleep like a dog. Right? Effort. The next is concentration, meditation. Concentration is source of success both in war and peace. Concentration is source of success for any activity that you do. If you concentrate, you will enjoy. Whatever you're doing, if you concentrate, if you really go into that, you will enjoy. आपको पता ही नहीं चलेगा टाइम कैसे खत्म हो गया. Well, I think we are all enjoying this retreat. पता नहीं 4 दिन कैसे खत्म हो गया, है ना? So that's really good. So similarly in your life, if you remain happy, enjoy, you will have no idea how time passes. When you're unhappy, even 1 hour is like 1 year. So again, whether the time is long or short depends upon how you are you're happy or suffering, right? So concentration is important. Now, when we do the concentration there, as I said, concentration is pulling all your energies together for one purpose. Normally, you let energy disperse. You are thinking about this, you're a little bit thinking about this, thinking a little bit about this. Then you're basically getting distracted and you're not able to achieve anything, right? So therefore, don't get distracted. Even if you spend 20 minutes, you should really concentrate. If you don't concentrate, you spend like 10 hours, you will not get much study, whatever it is, your job, whatever it is. You concentrate. Within a short time, you can do so many things. Really, miracle. Concentration is really like, as I always say, it's like a laser beam. When the rays of the light of the laser beam are scattered, it does not have to cut through steel. When the rays of the light of the laser beam are concentrated, it can cut through steel. When your camera is now these days, digital, you don't have to pay much attention about to focus on. But earlier, when you take a photo, you need to make your lens focus. Otherwise, you will get a blurred picture. Concentration. So now, to do this practice of concentration, there are so many things. One of the first practice that you do is counting your breath, watching your breath, which I believe you've been doing in the morning, right? So that the first is called counting. Second is called following. Third is called continuous. So there are so many levels. So first meditation counting. Imagine that your mind is here at the gate of the two nostrils, right? So when you breathe out, then the mind at near the nostril should think number one, going out and coming in together. Inhalation, exhalation, one. Here in this case, the mind does not go after the breath. Therefore, this is called counting. Next step is following. Then you follow the breath. Normally, people mix this a little bit. Should not be a big problem, but so here you are just mind stays here and it's simply counting. Exhalation, inhalation one, exhalation, inhalation two, exhalation, inhalation three, like that, right? So when you watch the breath, you should watch the breath in its normal state. Don't try to breathe quickly or slowly or forcibly. You know, just observe what is the state of your breath. It may be elaborate, it may be uneven, whatever it is, just watch it. So just concentrate. Inhalation, exhalation. One. When you do this, if you get distracted, then start all over. Start all over. And if you also don't know how to count, then it's also again wrong. So make sure that you are able to count one, exhalation, inhalation one. So that itself will take a long time to concentrate on this correctly. But gradually through practice, if you're able to remain your mind focused until 10, good progress. But then after that, don't go higher, just there enough. So this is called counting. Second is called falling. In the second step, then when you exhale, inhale, imagine the mind also follow, going out, coming in, going out, coming in. Third, the process is quite similar. Third is called placing. Placing means imagine that the breath is actually not breath, the air is there in whole your body. Imagine like a thread from the top to the bottom. Imagine that your energy of breath is there in all of your body, and just let your mind focus on it. So there are many other techniques, right? So in the beginning, the purpose of meditating on the breath is number one, it is something that is with you. So it is easier, number one. Number two, Your breath is your remote control to your brain. Your breath is your remote control to your brain. So when you're breathing, it is affecting your brain. You're training your brain also. So that way, and then we call इसको बोलते हैं ना प्राण pranayama बोलते हैं ना प्राण. It's really like your life. Breath is your life. If you stop breathing, it means you're dead, right? So that way it is good. But you cannot just spend your whole life watching the breath and die. That doesn't make sense, right? So therefore, this is a precursor to other practices. Then gradually you shift your focus and then meditate on loving kindness, on compassion, on wisdom, on suffering, and so many other things. So this meditation on breath is important to still your mind. If you want to, for example, meditate on compassion, first you need to still your mind. By watching your breath, when your mind is stilled, then you can shift the focus and meditate on compassion and love and so forth. That's the purpose of concentration, right? Then the sixth perfection is wisdom. Wisdom, normally we say wisdom, understanding emptiness, but there are many types of wisdom, understanding impermanence, suffering, so many types. But out of which the most important wisdom is wisdom, understanding emptiness. Because it is this wisdom, understanding emptiness, which uproots ignorance, right? What is ignorance? What is ignorance? We say ignorance is the root of samsara. So in this case, what is the meaning of ignorance? Ignorance means not knowing also, but more than that, it is misconception of reality. Ignorance means just ignorance, not knowing, but that is not so destructive. What is more destructive is misconception of reality. So sometimes people call it imaginary ignorance. Sometimes people call it philosophical ignorance. Because this kind of ignorance comes with some reasoning. It may be wrong, but still you come up with the reasoning. So that kind of ignorance is difficult to remove. If it is just lack of knowledge, it's easy to remove. For example, like small kids, when they don't know something, you teach them, they're not able, that they'll change. But if you try to say something to a little bit grown person, they'll come up with their own reasons to defend their own idea. So misconception of reality. So when we say misconception of reality, what is reality? Reality is such that there's nothing that has inherent independent existence. But because of your misconception, you thought things exist independently. That's misconception. And how does this bring problem? The example of snake. You all know that example? Snake. Some of you have attended, some of you may not know, so I'll explain it. Huh? I already explained. Yeah. So like that, there is no real snake, but because of darkness, maybe your eyesight, whatever, you thought there's a snake, and you develop fear as if there is a real snake. So it doesn't have to be true, but it's because of misconception. When you're walking alone, you really sometimes feel I'm being chased by a ghost. All misconception. So it's important to remove this misconception of reality. So that way, and this is the way how you follow the spiritual path explained in the sutra. Now, if you go higher, when you have really trained well in the common path. Common path means path that is common to the sutra, that is common to the tantra, right? Then you should enter into that fortunate path, which is called the path of Vajrayana, right? Vajrayana. Sometimes we call it Vajrayana. Sometimes we call it mantra, sometimes we call it tantra. So when we use the word mantra, man means mind, right? Mantra. Man means mind. Tara means to protect. So tantra means continuity. Tara means protect. So protecting the mind or protecting the continuity of the mind, the same thing. So one of the very important tantric practice is to see everything in a purer form. Purer form. Ordinarily, when we are not able to do it, we develop the tendency to highlight the faults rather than the good side. And because of this, because you keep on seeing the bad side, shortcomings, then you develop anger, jealousy, hatred. But if you're able to see everything perfect, pure, why should you get angry? Why should you develop attachment? So therefore, in Tantra, we undergo a training where the whole place is treated as the place of divine beings, and people everywhere seen as celestial beings, right? Kinkor, have you seen the mandala? So the mandala, external mandala is completely pure mention. Then inside there are men and female deities. So when you see them, you develop faith, veneration. You don't develop anger, jealousy, so forth. So that's the way you protect yourself. And also the word mandal is a Sanskrit word. Mandal means essence. Nyingbo. Nyingbo. So when we talk about when you use the word mandal in terms of essence in the objective world, the essence is emptiness, which we have been discussing. Interdependent origination, emptiness. And in the case of the mind, the essence is primordial mind. So if you develop this pristine awareness or you know pristine consciousness or wisdom, develop this subtle wisdom, and then use this very penetrative, subtle wisdom to understand this subtle reality, emptiness, then achieving enlightenment becomes very easy. It is for this purpose in the Tantra practice you have this male and female in union, a deity with the consort. Men. This is not as sexual imagery. It's not encouraging sex. It's symbolic. Just as when men and women, get into union, they experience some bliss, right? So similarly, through meditation, you introduce some bliss and then use this blissful mind, very clear cognitive penetrative mind, because when your mind is very, very happy, very, very peaceful, then it has greater capacity to understand the reality. So you use this very subtle, blissful mind to understand the subtlemost reality of everything, emptiness. So that is the meaning of taking the lessons in Mandala, Nyimbulemba. Right? So therefore, follow that tantric path. In order to follow this tantric path, you need to receive tantric initiation, tantric empowerment from a qualified lama. How does that work? It works like enthronement of a president or prime minister. For example, somebody may be not a president today, but then people elect him or her, and next day he becomes president. Is there a big difference in terms of his personal character and qualification? Within one night, there may not be any much change, right? But day before, he or she is not president, so therefore very, very less power. The next day when he's called president, everybody follows him, listens to the order. Something like that. So when the Lama empowers you, say, okay, now, okay, your foundation is very good. Now you do the tantric practice. It's much, much more effective rather than you're jumping into the tantric practice without any knowledge. That's called empowerment. So that's very important. And then it's not good enough to just receive the empowerment and don't practice any precepts. So next important thing is just as the Lama told you to observe certain precepts after receiving initiation, then you should observe those tantric vows. And then after that, then you need to study tantra, the four classes of tantra, action tantra, conduct tantra, yoga tantra, another yoga tantra, and also do the four session for yoga practice. And then after you enter into tantra practice, then you need to develop more faith and respect to the teacher. Therefore, then finally, in this way, may I meet a spiritual teacher who can show me this amazing noble path, and may all those good friends who follow this path stay long, long time, and may I be free from any external and internal obstructions. So this is a short LAMRIM text written by Zokabat, just explain you the essence. Right? Clear? That is called LAMRIM. Then they're very small versions. Then if you want to know more in that particular area, read one another text on LAMRIM. Luckily now there's so many books on LAMRIM. This way. Okay, now you ask some questions. We have a lot of time. Lot of time. It's really useful to do more discussion.
I want to know the difference between nirvana and enlightenment.
Good question. When you achieve enlightenment, you have also actualized nirvana. But it is not necessary that anybody who has achieved nirvana has to have achieved enlightenment. Enlightenment is much higher. Nirvana means that you remove negative emotions from their seed, then you achieve nirvana. You become what we call as arhat, right? Because there are some people who say, yeah, working for all sentient beings is very important, but look at this unruly sentient beings. Really, very difficult. So I'll help them a little bit, but basically I will achieve my liberation. So those people don't fight for enlightenment for the benefit, right? So that is nirvana. But the Buddha said also there are different types of nirvana. This nirvana that somebody is called solitary nirvana. Nirvana just for oneself. Then the nirvana achieved by Buddha is called non-abiding nirvana. Non-abiding nirvana means they don't exist. They also don't get stuck with nirvana just for oneself, non-abiding, right? In the case of the solitary nirvana, you don't abide in samsara, but you abide just for yourself, right? Non-abiding nirvana, yeah. Huh? Non-abiding doesn't abide either in samsara or in solitary nirvana. Non-abiding. It doesn't stay, it doesn't get stuck in samsara, it doesn't get stuck in the solitude, Nirvana just for oneself, non-abiding. Nirvana is a technical terms, direct translation of the Tibetan term.
Taste like Gisela.
Hmm.
So Gisela, I want to ask you because the first step in the practice of Buddha Dharma, the practice in LAMRIM that we learned is to find a spiritual teacher, Gisela. So I would like to, with due respect, I would like to ask you who was your spiritual teacher and how who was your spiritual teacher and how did you find your spiritual teacher?
Ordinarily speaking, like you just get your spiritual teacher. You know? I mean, and not many of us so serious and follow all the rules and regulations taught in the text. So in my case also, like especially when you're young, you don't have all these capacities to go to judge, to find the teacher. Like, you just get one, right? So in my case, uh, I mean, still there is no like wow or no kind of personal commitment saying you are my teacher, things like that. But in the school, I had two, three teachers. Okay, they all turned out to be exceptionally good, right? So something like that. But I did not receive much teachings from them. Then gradually, when I entered the Institute Buddhist Dialectics, it's not my choice. And it's like in a school, there are already teachers there. So you have to follow them. But then, of course, because I've received so many teachings from these teachers for so many years, they've explained all the, you know, philosophical texts. So therefore, of course, I accept them as my real teachers.
And one more
Then
question.
from His Holiness, I received so many teachings. I accept him, of course, as my teacher. Yeah.
And Gisela,
But otherwise, if you have received, as I mentioned yesterday, you have received some teachings from here and there, and then gradually want to do more serious practice and find a teacher, then you should try to find. The point is, in ancient Tibetan tradition, they say that in order to find an authentic teacher, it should take 12 years, examine them, judge them. But that is a little bit too much, I think, because at that time people had so much time. They're not worried about finding a job or things like that. Probably, I'm sorry to say that, but as much as possible, you should listen to what other people say. Should yourself go and listen some teachings, and more importantly, not just the teaching, but the teacher is a good person or not. Then once you find such a teacher, then accept that person as your teacher. Now, accepting that person as your teacher doesn't mean it's always available to you. Many people asked me to help them just as you're asking. So I always said His Holiness. They may not be able to get any teaching from His Holiness, but they can attend to all His online teachings. So many of His teachings are there. So that's important. So that you should have tied your neck with the teacher and stay together. Sometimes it is better to stay a little bit far away, right? Because when you stay together, then you instead of seeing the good quality, you start seeing the bad things. Lama young nature. That means the blessing of Lama is greater from a distance. That's one thing, you see.
thank you, Thiksey, Gisela.
Yeah.
And also, like a small request, also, Gisela. Like, if you could suggest some uh, basic books to understand for beginners, Gisela, some books if you can like suggest for us to understand
If you
basics.
want easier reading, then read that book called Buddhism for Busy People. This book called Buddhism for Busy People, written by a Australian. And I read it. I had given this book to many people because it's easy to read. And what he had written there is also, I think, correct. So it's very easy to read. Otherwise, there are so many books by His Holiness. Read any of them. More than 100 books. But one book that I would recommend is uh, World of Tibetan Buddhism. World, World, meaning complete features of Tibetan Buddhism, world of Tibetan Buddhism. So that talks a little bit about everything that I said, plus a little bit about Tantra. So that will give you a complete picture. WORLD, World of Tibetan Buddhism. Hmm. And also cultivating daily meditation by His Holiness. That's also very good. Cultivating daily meditation.
Good morning, Geshe.
Hmm.
I have two questions. So my first question is, we rebirth according to our karma, right?
We are
So
reborn. Yeah.
yeah, so I heard from many others that if a dog die, then he will born as human in his next life. Is that true?
No, no, not true. Wrong.
Okay.
There's no guarantee that if you're a human being, will be born as human being. You know, dog as a dog or dog as a human being. There's no guarantee. Yeah.
Second question is, you were the translator of His Holiness
Hmm.
4 years, right? So
What?
you were huh? You were the translator of His Holiness for 14 years, right?
16 years. Yeah.
16 years, yeah,
Yeah.
sorry.
Don't
So
don't de- don't degrade me.
I'm really
I may be
curious.
wrong. Yeah, I may be wrong. Maybe you may be right.
So I'm really curious that
Resident, residency looks like, yeah. Not secretary, but I was helping with the religious part. Yeah, because I was the only monk in the office. Nothing to claim. It's all by coincidence. I never dreamt working with His Holiness. It all happened, you see. Yeah. Hmm. Rinpoche is exaggerating. I mean, it's really shameful to compare myself to it. But unfortunately, that happens, not only in terms of teaching, but a little bit style also. I might have picked up a little bit. And I'll tell you one thing. Luckily, I might have picked up a little bit here and here, but you know, people come with this kind of similarities, then start seeing the same. Once His Holiness was in Washington in a hotel, so he must be in his room. So I was probably doing something at the lobby. Then I saw one person coming close to me, standing quietly, another person joining. Then there was a big line. So I was wondering what is happening. Then they start coming to me, "Your Holiness, can you give me your signature?" You know, one thing. Second thing, I remember a few things. One day there was to address, I don't know, around 1,000 lawyers or something. It was a hall on the ground in the hotel. So we were all upstairs. Then the one representative of His Holiness. So he said, let us, the first batch, we should go down so that there's more rush when His Holiness comes. So I joined him. So as soon as I entered the room where the lawyers were waiting, somebody said, ladies and gentlemen, here comes His Holiness. Yeah, because of the raw, they mention that His Holiness is coming. You can make such a mistake. So what I did, I mentioned, I just turned my face and almost like completely stuck with the wall. And then in his own office, People come to see Solinus, get the audience. So we were just waiting at the veranda. So one senior Indian politician from Himachal, I also know his name. So he came and saw me at the veranda. He just lied down completely. So I have such experiences. Yeah, yeah. Next question.
So I'm so I'm so I'm really curious that why you discontinue that.
Why?
You discontinue that
Why I distant?
to be the translator of this.
Because I they kicked me out. But they did not kick me completely. They gave me a job in the library. But this good question. How I become his translator, how I came out. This was so interesting to me. So as I said, when I joined his office, when they invited me, then finally accepted to become his translator, the first thing I told the secretaries is that you have invited me to become his office translator, but honestly speaking, I don't have the needed education, needed morality I don't have. So whenever you see me that I'm not up to the mark, just kick me out. Just kick me out to go. That's the first thing that I said. But somehow, luckily, I managed to stay there for 16 years, right? And the more and more I spend time, the more like you have to do this, you do this, you have to do this. Start 16 years. Then one day, when I was, as usual, when I was attending him for translation meeting of some people, and after I finished my translation, so let's do if this is the room where we're meeting, then there is a door and his office. So when he started moving, took few steps, looked back, and said, Abdullah, so Abdullah, there is a need for a director in the Library of Tibetan Works and Archives, and already some names are collected, and you can talk to the East. So I think you should go because you know my thinking. So you go there, you are free to do many new things. Kind of freedom. I want to say, is okay, this is how I become. This is how I live. For me, that was so good because it will happen. If you do something wrong, kicked out is a shame. Or even if that doesn't happen, if you, oh, this is not too much, I will enjoy my. Because when you have in holiness, whether there's work or not, you need to, especially when it's traveling, even if you're not record, but you will be on your you know, toes waiting anytime you need it. So you have to be very careful. So you might start thinking, I need freedom. Okay, enough. I want to just leave and go sightseeing and go back to sea, beach, whatever. So I got very amazing exit. So now it is much easier for me to leave library than in his office. So it's a good. But still, I'm lingering. See, student me in the library now. This is 21 years in the library, and I got many offers in between. Come to this office. Come to this office. Yeah, minister, I got all these offers. I'm just because you're interested, I'm telling you the story. I'm not saying I'm very special. I got this offer. I sacrifice everything. See, I'm not saying that at all, really. But I'm just saying because you're interested. Oh, minister? Yes. Really true, really true, really true. So that's why when I was invited to do something else, live library as my expertise is only there will be or whatever. So I stuck there. So it turned out to be good. Not for others, for me. For me also. Yeah, very good. Tibet House, no. Tibet House, I was in Tibet House for 2.5 years, and I was then research assistant and translator. And later on, 34. Don't make me older. Yeah, yeah, yes. Pretty good, yeah. Yes, usage of the word, look pretty good. So that's why they say when somebody praises you, how young you look, that means how old you are. Be careful. Yeah. Okay. Next question.
Shantideva.
Yeah.
Um, I asked this question out of curiosity.
Curiosity kills the cat, right? Yeah.
Uh, h- how do you see love? Uh, as in, when we came here the first day, Ling sang to play, took us to Thiksey monastery, and he uttered these words that love is expansion, always expanding. And it was so beautiful that it stuck with me. So I was just wondering, what would you put love into words and which translates into action?
I have a quotation, I can cite a quotation which says, love is not how many times you touch each other, but how many times you that love means physically, touching, not physical touching.
Mm.
Love minimizes fault. When you genuinely love somebody, you don't see shortcomings and faults in that person, right? So therefore, love, of course, genuine love is really so important, so important. When you really love people and compassion, everybody looks nice, everybody looks handsome, everybody looks beautiful, everybody looks like child, innocent child, all these things look possible, right? So it's very, 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 that's why love and compassion, they are the kind of foundation of Buddhist practice. That's why the Buddha said, if you have one quality in the form of your hand, you have all the qualities in the form of your hand. And what is that quality? Compassion. Because if you have genuine compassion, how can you, if you have genuine compassion, how can you believe? How can you take it? When you have genuine compassion, then of problems and sufferings or the needs of other people, then how can you think about? But then it's not easy to do. It's not easy. Okay. Hmm. Hmm.
So I heard this question like yesterday. Someone was asking this question, so it got me curious. Can compassion exist without wisdom?
Yes, yes. But great compassion or genuine compassion, not some kind of compassion is possible. Because compassion, the definition of compassion is how nice if all said. So that means with wisdom, with analysis, to know what types of suffering, right? Suffering, condition suffering, especially the suffering of change and condition suffering, especially understanding condition suffering. For that you really need that ecumen, wisdom, that is The more with wisdom you see the suffering, the more you develop that feeling for others, compassion for others.
So compassion wasn't wisdom.
Not necessarily. That's why I said
Oh.
great compassion, or more genuine compassion, is dependent on wisdom. Some kind of feeling for others, maybe with wisdom,
Thank you.
not.
Some questions lah.
Hmm.
So you said like there are stages for spiritual path.
Hmm.
So we also heard there is a saying that there are stages also for do a virtue like good deeds
Hmm.
without knowing how to do a good thing.
Exactly.
You can't give do good deeds. Like
Exactly.
if I do small good deeds, I directly tell to like I want to donate my body parts. It will do
Exactly.
more harm.
Exactly. True. Correct.
So is that thing if I donate my body parts without knowing the true,
Then you are stupid.
there's thing like I can't cross the kilcor.
Huh?
We say like there's a kilcor where parts of the yeah. Stages we have to cross kilcor in, then we go to the next life.
Cross Chinkur what?
Kilcor
Mandala. Khandesh.
wheel of life.
It look like, yeah.
There's a saying that we can't cross the wheel of life if I donate my body parts.
No, no, that's not true. That's not true. Because in the text, we already read that for to benefit others, you give up your body. But at the same time, the text says, don't give up your body unless your mind is ready.
Thank you.
Tashidele Geshe.
Hmm.
So through your rigorous scholastic studies and being a translator for such a long years, have you ever developed lung issues? And if yes, how did you deal with it?
Anger. Huh?
Lung as in like vata imbalances, the wind element.
Wind is always there, but when there's too much wind, then you get angry. So you're basically saying, did you ever get angry or upset? So,
No,
yeah,
Geshe. Like for instance, I study philosophy,
yeah,
and because of too much thinking, writing, discussions, the Amchi says, "Oh, it's lung imbalance," because of too much
yeah,
thinking.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Luckily, I did not suffer from it.
I see. Okay. And if somebody goes through that, then
As Tashila had said, I have very good physical stamina. So therefore, I don't suffer from lung. Really. Sometimes I work very hard. I mean, even these days, again, like I said, every possible time, I'm just reading the book. Oh, what stupid. Like, but I don't get lung.
and
Because I enjoy what I'm doing. That's the secret. I enjoy what I'm doing. This day, especially what I've started doing, which is I think useful for you also. If I work in the office, then I work, say, I mean, not completely exact like that, but I work in the office, say, for 1 hour. Then I'll get up, go down, do some other work, doing the stuffs, do this, do that, then come up. So that energizes me. But if you keep on sitting there long doing the same thing, then you might get physically sick. Too much sitting on chair. That's why the chairs are called killer chairs, right? So it's really important to get up. If you're a student studying, 40, 50 minutes, get up, take a cup of tea or whatever, just go out, do some little bit stretching exercise. Makes huge difference. Your sleepiness will go away. So this is what I do. And I also tell the staffs that they should get up after 1 hour or so, do some exercise. Then also you need to you need to eat good food in order to not to get lung. You have to eat good food.
Shala, we have like were just in ninth standard. We are the youngest Gen Z, and you are the most senior Gen Z. You are so cool, Gisela. So that's why you are healthy.
That's one reason. You're right, because I spent my whole life, like, when I went to school, then obviously falling in the school with the kids, playing. Then after that, I joined the Institute of Buddhist Athletics. 13 years there, the young monks, more or less, slightly older now, but young. Then finally, when I joined His Holiness office, then staffs were of course not young, but His Hol because in the when His there, your mind and fresh, happy. Then I became director of the Library of Tibetan Works and Archives. When I just joined the office, there were really some senior person, but very soon they all retired and gone. Now I am the oldest person. The others are very young. They on weekends they go out sightseeing, playing football, and many of them take their bikes and cars and go to ski and Ladakh. They're all young. So I'm in the community of these people. So that was like, I think make difference.
Julie Geshe,
Hmm?
can you explain what is the concept behind a meditative state or Thukdam? I think
Hmm.
in some Rinpoche they passed away and they stay in Thukdam for a short period of time. Is it because of like the supernatural power that only Rinpoches have, or like the practice?
Not which is practitioners, which is some practitioners. They do this visualization of the death process every day. If you have received some tantric initiation, then you do this practice of death. His Holiness sometimes jokingly say that I do this process of death, visualize and meditate on this process of death every day. Now I am wondering whether I will be successful when I actually encounter death. That's what he always says. So my point is when you are used with that, then when the the process of dissolution takes place. So first the solid parts, we say the earth dissolves into water and water dissolves into fire. Fire dissolves into wind. Wind dissolves into consciousness. Consciousness also there are 82 conceptions, consciousness. And finally, they all dissolve into the subtlemost consciousness. And if you're somebody familiar with all this process, then you know, okay, now I'm here, now I'm here, now I'm here. Okay, now I'm entered the subtlemost consciousness. And then they use that subtlemost consciousness and remain in that meditative state. So depending on your practice, some of them can stay in that meditative state for many days. Some of them stay for over 20 days. Some of them 14 days. Some 3 days. The indication they are in the meditative state is their body does not decay, remain rich. When His Holiness's senior tutor Ling passed away, that even after death for 3 days, the attendants used to wash his body. And when they lift his hand stays like this, very flexible. Normally, after death, it becomes really rigid, like a piece of wood. They get talking about, very hard. But yeah, so they are kind of clinically dead, but not biologically dead. Mm.
Shantideva Geshe,
Mm.
and my question is that we have two types of Buddhism, right?
Huh?
Sir, we have two types of Buddhism.
Huh.
So, is this one thing that the monks in Thailand they even shave their eyebrows and their robe is not like different from us. So like, what does like shaving the eyebrows and that all indicate? I mean, like
Sharing the what?
shaving the eyebrows. Like they even shave the head.
Shaving. Acha, acha. I thought sharing. How to share? Eyebrows. Say my eyebrows. Acha. Sharing the eyebrows. Yeah, yeah.
I also see this one thing that they usually ask for who like like uh, they don't cook like food like us, and they usually get the food from others.
Yeah.
That
Yeah, it's okay, but the ancient tradition, the Buddha himself also go for alms, so here is our. But now time is changed. If you go around with your begging arms, in Thailand it may still work, but in some other countries they will drive you away. Inshallah, रोज big मांगने काम तो करता ही नहीं बोलेगा फिर. They'll say always begging, not doing the work, get lost. So it's not possible. But it depends on different situations. But what I'm saying is the practice is done by the Thamas are basically same. The foundation is same. Truth they practice. 37 limbs to enlightenment they practice. Basic practices similar. But some differences are, for example, in the case of Thailand monks, once they get ordained, they don't have to remain as a monk until you die. In the Tibetan tradition, in my tradition, unless you want to disrobe, you need to remain as a monk until you die. But in Thailand, no. It's also good in one sense. You can become a monk during your school holidays, and after the school finishes, you give back your vow and you become a laborer.
like say does that make them like superior from us, or I mean,
No, no, these are different ways of practice. Nobody is superior than the others. Hmm? To Tasila, you're saying something.
Ishla, I would like to ask about a clarification about subjective clear light and objective clear light.
Hmm.
Although you have not covered that in the past, may I be able to ask you, like, like just a clarification.
Hmm.
Subjective clear light is the emptiness of
No, Satyatithila light is the luminous mind.
luminous mind.
Objective mind is emptiness. Yes, yes, yes. Yeah. Sometimes we call it meeting of the uh, other son of filial light. Yeah.
Gisela, you
Oh,
talked
stand
about.
up, stand up,
Oh,
stand
sorry,
up.
sorry, sorry.
Just helping you do exercise. No, nothing to say sorry. Just
Uh,
take.
Gisela, you talked about the omnipresence attitude, like in our previous batch on the last
Hmm.
day. Like there are five omnipresence attitude, that is contract, attention, discrimination, feeling, and intention.
What?
That's what I wrote. You told us about omnipresence attitude. Omnipresence attitude.
I don't remember. Do you remember? I'm omnipresent.
Attitude. Stages. I wrote attitude. Is it stages? I don't know if I may be wrong, but you said about something omnipresence. Five omnipresence.
Oh, I don't remember. You must have been told this by some other, but in the mind and mental factors, it's one which says five omnipresent mental factors. Some mental factors which go with the primary mind all the time. That's why they call it omnipresent mental factors. Maybe talking about that. Yeah.
And Gijal, I have another question. Will our karmas, like if we do bad deeds in like life of ours, will we have the effect in this life only, or will like
Yeah, if you do something bad, yeah, the result may be tomorrow. The result may be just something. Or result may be next day. Result may be next month. Result may be next year. Result maybe next life. It depends.
Uh, some people face death in a very difficult way, and some people die easily in a comfortable. Does this also relate to their karma? Like if you do good deeds, you have
Yes,
easy
very true.
death.
Karma, your determination. Also determination. Some people are decisive. And some people are not decisive. They worry, so then they don't die easily. They have attachment to their children, families. They don't die easily.
And they live.
Like for example, I tell you a story. When we were living in Tibet, group of bandits robbers came and looted our animals, other animals. Then some people from our that area, they want to bring the animals back. So we also used to keep guns and other things. So all the men with the horses, they chased the decoy, and then they found that these people who took away our enemy, to our animals, they were really like almost like hiding in a kind of valley and already killed one yard and cooking, things like that. So then our people, they surrounded them on the upper part. Then there's a Tibetan way of saying, "Pharo saji, mogungi roshagi." In Konyuedi, "Pharo saji, you the eater of the dead body of your father, Gogugi roshagi. Are you going to submit, or are you going to submit your body to us, dead body to us?" So there's the challenging kind of slogan. And of course, they are all decoys. They said, "Rush again and leave the body dead body that you start shooting up." Then because our people they were on the all kind of vantage point, so they did shoot, and then finally this the reason I'm telling this story is that they finally killed most of them. And then the leader, even when he was killed, he was still holding his gun like this, not collapsing. So that's what I'm saying. This is also almost like the Thugdam. So with strong positive emotion, negative emotions, you don't die easily.
You said, Shila, all our bad karma will affect our life in this life. It will not go to our next life.
It will go to next life.
It will go to our next life too.
Next life also. Because when you do anything positive, negative, it makes an imprint. And when will that imprint get activated depends on the conditions, the situation, the environment, how powerful that karma is. So those most powerful karma, which you recently did, they will give fruit first. Then the next one, then the next one.
And we have seen unborn child being died, they die.
Yeah, yeah.
Small children suffer a lot.
Yeah, yeah.
Just suffer. Is it their bad karma?
With karma and also condition, not just karma, condition. Okay.
Krishna, karam or karan?
Karan.
Word.
Karan. Karan is condition. Yes.
But like Geshe Hindi में if we do the literal translation,
Hmm.
karan is the reason.
Oh, cause, condition.
Cause.
Yeah. Karan. If the karan meant to him, due to him, I'm unhappy.
But it's a condition that we all external.
Yes. Factors. Yes.
Kishla.
Hmm.
In some I've heard some scholars maybe representing Buddhism, they summarize or articulate in a manner. They call this Buddhism as Tawatenjung Chupa
No,
Same.
there's not some scholars by His Holiness.
Like, how can you please elaborate?
Yeah,
All
His
of us.
Holiness summarizes the Buddhist philosophy very interestingly. One he says, if you summarize the Buddhist practice, Buddhist philosophy, then the Buddhist philosophy or view is interdependent origination. And Buddhist conduct is compassion. Buddhist conduct, the reason that we should be compassionate is because we are all interrelated. So your behavior, your conduct should be compassionate because is interdependent origination and the conduct, behavior conduct is non-violent, compassionate. Another way he summarizes is if it is possible for you to, you can, if you can't help, do not harm. That's one of summarizing. There again,
Tashidali I have a question regarding reincarnation. We all know to find the reincarnation, it is quite complicated and lots of sessions. My question is there any chance, because karma is equal for each and every beings, if the lamas or Rinpoche not do a proper job in their interlife, so not able to accumulate merits or to born as human beings in the next life, is there any chance another luckiest person can take that name?
not possible.
So
Not
because
possible.
because their
Yes.
followers want to recognize, as a reincarnations. If the
Right.
Lama is not able to born as a human, and I come to know that, I come to hear that someone saying that another luckiest person take the name.
I don't think so because you can't cheat karma. You can't cheat karma, right? So as you said, that if somebody having the name of Lama but doesn't live properly, doesn't do good things, then there will be, generally speaking, there will be no true reincarnation. But his followers pick up somebody saying this is the reincarnation. Yeah. So that is actually that is happening on a very large scale. It's happening on a very large scale. I'm very upset with that. Because nowadays anyone ever dies, reincarnation. Any teachers in the Dharma center dies, reincarnation. This is really like so therefore some teachers like which is very high reincarnation, they have written articles, they are totally against that. The whole system of reincarnation is not very healthy. Let's do it properly.
Little kid in the library, Rinpoche, with the bike.
Yeah.
I said, "Hi, who are you?"
Yeah.
And he said, "I'm Rinpoche."
Yeah. They start like this, you see. Yeah.
How do we know
They come along.
bag off of like his? Sorry, Gonda. How do we know like that the next Rinpoche La is here? Who knows it?
Huh? Who knows?
양질레도가 도 간다스 하기를 해sol라.
Because in the case of true reincarnation, many of these reincarnates they are able to like in the case of his Dalai Lama, so many indications came. He was able to, there were 16 articles looking exactly similar, two drums, two rosaries, looking exactly similar. And this little kid has to choose from them. He choose everything correctly except one walking stick. With one walking stick, he hesitated a little bit, picked up the wrong one, looked at it a little bit, then placed it back, and then took the right one. Then later on, when people tried to find out why he picked up the wrong one first, they found that this walking stick was also with the 13th Dalai Lama. That's just to show that. Then some lamas, you believe it or not, some lamas, when they are born, they have mantras written on the tongue. Mantras on the leg. Really, just one like that. Yeah, so some incarnations. Then remembering past life is not very peculiar to the lamas. These days, there are many young people who remember their past lives. Many young. I'm sure you also there. So there's not a big deal. Like for example, we did we interviewed some young kids in South India years back. Then there was one the female told us that when he was very young, he always felt very thirsty. And when he started going to school, they have to make sure that she gets bottles of water to drink. And she remembered her past life, saying that she was a drunkard, excessive drinker. So in this level, is then there was a girl who was so horrified when she sees the rain. And she remembered her past life saying that when I went to play with this river with some people, they pushed me and I got drowned in that water. So she's very scared of things. So there are a number of people like that.
Geshe, I want to ask, is it mentioned in the scriptures that this primordial clear light is white in color? If it or not, so is it connected with the rainbow body manifestations which great enlightened beings have it at the time of death?
I have no idea. But the interesting is people, even people who experience this near-death experience, just like as these are none this, anybody who has experienced near-death experience. There are books and books on near-death experience. They all say that they get this experience of entering into a light tunnel. This interesting talks about the light, just like we talk about light in this teaching. And then the light, that light is very soothing when it touches the body. And then when they come back to life, they become completely changed person, completely changed person, very compassionate, very understanding. So I was really thinking about, I read some books about this intermediary, so the near-death experiences. But in Tibetan and in Ladakh, they also actually dialogue. People who died and came back, dialogue. They also have some dialogues are very famous in Tibet. Deloma, Chudidoma, or somebody. Now some, very women spiritual practitioners. Yeah. Thiksey.
Geshe, can I ask one question, last one?
Yes.
So I want to know about the free will and the
Huh?
free will, Geshe. Free will and deterministic.
Free will. Okay, free will. Yeah, free will against determination. Yeah, this is a little bit complex. Because even when we talk about karma, then many people start thinking, oh, it's all your karma. You have no freedom. Even when you have freedom, you are not free. You are doing this because of karma. You know? So some people go to that extent. But according to Buddhist teaching, they say, yes, you have big influence by karma, but still you are free to do many things. Which college you want to go, what food you want to eat. I don't think these are all determined by karma. And his always explained this very beautifully by saying karma primarily means not any action, but any action that is related to human feeling of happiness and suffering. For example, if there is a wind and a lot of leaves fall down, you can't call it karma because it does not affect anyone, right? So it's basically related to human feeling, human emotion. Okay.
Thank you. Please.
Done. Done, done, done.